Okay, this next step is a little irritating. It can be a little frustrating. We have some very small parts, and we have a part of the machine that is fairly important in terms of how these parts get assembled and how well the part is shaped when we're done. This is going to be the coin magazine. The coin magazine is a little box that holds our training coins so that the machine can dispense them one at a time. It's made of these four clear parts here. I have them on top of a green part right now just to make them show up a little bit better. And for what it's worth, I have them oriented here in the way that they get assembled for the most part. At the very least, what I have here is the correct top edge of all the parts and the correct bottom edge of all parts. So you'll notice we have two identical parts here with these hooks on them. Those are the left and right sides. This here is the rear of the coin magazine, and you can tell because it has two slots cut in its bottom edge. And this here is the front edge of the coin magazine. You can tell because it has a wide slot cut out from the front. And that is where this is the slot that will allow the coins to actually slide out of the magazine. So I'm going to kind of show how this gets assembled as best I can. The parts are small, my hands get in the way. We'll just do the best we can here as far as depicting that. But so there will be a set of hooks, or there'll be a side with a hook on either side of it like this. And then in the front, this part here is fitted this way. And that is how the coin magazine looks. Now the annoying thing about this when we go to cement this together is toward the right side here where I'm wiggling my finger, that's the front of the coin magazine. And if I put a little bit of pressure inward on this part here, you can see that it can rock out of alignment pretty badly. So it is important when we're putting a little bit of pressure on this to make sure that we're applying pressure only to the lower edge of this front here. And that way you can get this pinched together like that without tipping that front piece out of alignment. But if you were to try to push it from the top, you can see you can make that misalign. So the easy part here is getting these two sides to cement to the rear. So we'll do that first, and then we'll get this this front part attached. So what's important about this is the orientation. Again, you want each of your side pieces with the open part of the hook here facing down, like we have, and then these two cutouts in the rear panel facing down, or toward you in this case. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our tacking strategy again, which means we're going to use very little cement for right now. You might remember we tacked the basket together in an earlier step. And excuse me, we just put a little bit of cement on it, enough to get the parts to stick together and hold their relative shapes. And then once that cement cures up completely and the part has got some more durability, we'll go through and reinforce it well with additional cement. So with that in mind, the way that I'm going to proceed is I'm going to put a dot of cement above and below these two slots. And then I'm going to put the side panels on. So just like this. Now once that happens, what I'm going to do is put on the front part a little dot of cement at the bottom of each of these slots, and then I'm going to put it in between the sides like this and press them together. And then we're going to actually have to hold this in our hand and examine it, and kind of, because you can see that the laser cutting process isn't always super precise depending on the thickness of the acrylic. Not everyone's always going to have the same thing, but you can see in this case I've got some play in this. So what I'm going to need to do is for the next couple of minutes after I get all the cement on is hold this in my hand lined the way that I want while the cement starts to get a little more solid. So that's one of the things I meant when I said that I felt this step was a little bit, could be a little bit annoying. It's because we kind of have to babysit. The other thing is, I've been using this piece of green acrylic to just sort of show how these parts go together and try to make the clear plastic show up a little bit better on camera. But it isn't safe, of course, to cement against another piece of acrylic because we could end up fusing parts that we don't want to fuse. So I recommend, if you haven't been doing this already, I think you should watch this whole process as I go through it instead of trying to follow me on the first try. Just see what kind of trouble I get into here. And then once you're pretty familiar with the process, back up the video and then give it a shot on your own. But because this part's a little bit daunting, I'll just have you watch me first. So I'm going to proceed with a dot of cement above and below that slot, and above and below this slot. Make absolutely certain you have these oriented the same way I do right now, or you'll cement, if you cement the coin magazine together wrong, you'll have some problems. And then I'm going to, as I said, put a little bit of cement, beneath each of these slots, just enough to tack it together for now. So cement side down, get this in between the hooks, just like that, and then pressed into place. And remember, I have to keep my pressure on the low edge of this. If I put pressure at the high edge of it, I will end up tilting it out of alignment. Take care of this cement tube really quickly. So now, there's two things I'm concerned about here. I am concerned about making sure that this is not falling apart in my hand, so that'll be the third thing I'm concerned about. The two things I'm concerned about are making sure that this is squared off really well, and also that it is a nice flat piece. And you can double check that by having maybe some cardboard or something else flat that isn't something that your cement will stick to. In this case, I'll just use paper over a piece of acrylic just to give myself a little buffer here. And I want to put the coin magazine down and press all of its components downward toward the paper. And that way I know that its bottom is flat. And I can apply some pressure to the low part of this front edge here. Kind of examine everything again to make sure it's square. Get my eye over the top of it and look down. I'm pretty happy with everything that I see. I've got it square. I've got everything pressed together nicely, and I've gotten it squished this way so that I know that it's flat. And so I'm going to stop fiddling with it and let this sit here for a few minutes and have the cement set up.